On this James the Bike Guy, we're taking a look at the 2021 Trek Farley 5. This is an aluminum fat bike from Trek. It's their entry-level model in the lineup, and it's got some neat features for 2021, as well as a ton of fat bike capabilities. So we're going to go into some of the features and designs. We'll talk about the part spec, as well as find out exactly what the bike weighs. So while you watch this video, be sure you leave me some comments down in the comment section below, letting me know what you think about the part spec and the bike overall. So let's get into it. So this bike is going to run what Trek calls their Alpha Platinum aluminum. So Alpha Platinum aluminum is shaped in butted tubing. It's got some external cable routing, although you can do some things internal if you wanted to. And it's going to have neat features like this adjustable sliding dropout that they call strangleholds. And overall, ends up being a pretty neat bike for fat biking. Now the version we're looking at here is the size medium, and this bike's going to come in a small, medium, large, and extra large. So it's got a pretty good size range, and the geometry on the bike is going to err somewhere between something that you could go bike packing with to a little more cross-country style. So it's got a 69-degree head tube angle on it. Your seat tube angle is going to be 71.5 degrees. And then the chainstay length on the bike is going to be 455 millimeters. Now that's going to be adjustable up to 20 millimeters front to back. So with the stranglehold dropout from Trek, you're going to be able to adjust both for tire clearance, tire size, as well as handling. And then up front, if you really wanted to, you could add on a front derailleur. So the frame is pretty neat in that aspect. And then it's going to run an aluminum steer tube with 1.125 to 1.5 taper to this carbon OCLV fork. So this is called a Bontrager Haru fork. It's going to have a 15 by 150 millimeter through axle up front. And then the back end of the bike is going to be set up ready to be able to run racks. So you've got rack mounts on the bike, and in those sliding dropouts, you've got a 12 by 197 through axle. Now the neat thing with the geometry of this bike is it's got these super thin chainstays. Now the reason for that is so that they can run crank sets off of what otherwise would be fitting a 170 millimeter rear, the narrower standard. Now you want the 197 because that's going to allow for wider tire clearance, but what you don't want is a super wide crank, as that is a less comfortable position. So Trek has figured out how to make these super thin chainstays, run the narrower fat bike crank set, and end up with a much better fit. Now, talking about some specs on the bike, we should start with the tires. So this has the Bontrager Narwhal tires. This is a studdable, tubeless ready tire. It's 120 TPI, and up front, it's going to be 4.5 inches wide. So this ends up being a massive tire. Now it's 27.5, which means that the outside diameter of this bike is much like a 29 plus bike. So outside diameter is going to be a bit bigger than a 26 by 4.5, and that's because tire height is a function of width. So if you're running the same width tire on a bigger wheel, the overall diameter gets larger. Now on the back, to be able to run a little more clearance for snow, as well as still have that mount for a front derailleur if you wanted to, they've got the same Bontrager Narwhal tire, 120 TPI, but this is going to be running a 3.8 width. So the back end of the bike is a little more like what you'd get with a traditional 26 by 4.5 in overall size. So it gives the bike a nice mullet tire setup. So that means you're going to have tons of grip up front, a little bit easier rolling in the back, and if you want to, as long as you make sure to run the tire all the way back, you could up the tire size to that 4.5, as well as this bike will accept a 26 by 4.8 as well. So you've got tons of tire options just to be able to set it up exactly how you want. Now for a drivetrain, the bike has Shimano's Deore rear derailleur. So this is a Shimano Deore M5120 rear derailleur. It's going to be clutched. So with the clutch off, you're going to have lots of chain slap. The cage can move around, but if you turn that clutch on, it's going to tighten everything up, make it nice and snug. I wish they ran a rubberized protector here, but if you can see it closely, there is a plastic one, so you don't have to worry about the chain damaging the chainstay. And then in the back, you're going to have the Shimano M4100 10-speed cassette. So this is running an 11 to 46, so fairly wide range. And up front, you've got a 28-tooth chainring narrow wide on this race face crankset. It is a press fit bottom bracket, but these have historically been pretty reliable. And one thing I really love is, of course, going to be this rapid drive hub. Yeah, take a listen to that. So the rapid drive hub is 108 teeth of engagement in the back end of the bike, which is going to allow you to really be able to ratchet the pedals as you need, have tons of control. And I haven't seen another bike in this class with anywhere near as nice of a rear hub. Speaking of which, you've got the Sun Ringley Mulefoot 80 rims. This is an 80 millimeter internal width rim. It is tubeless ready, and the bike comes with tubeless ready tires. So with some tape, some valves, and some sealant, you could set this up tubeless ready pretty much out of the box. Now, cockpit wise, you've got Bontrager's Blender 31.8 aluminum stem. It goes to a reasonably wide Bontrager 31.8 handlebar, and we'll talk about some of the controls. So this has the M4100 Shimano shifter, so you've got thumb button for easier gear, and then index finger or thumb to go to harder gear with those two paddles. Brakes, it's set up with SRAM level brakes. This runs DOT fluid, which means it's going to be really reliable in the winter. You definitely want to run a DOT brake fluid during the winter because it's much more stable with temperature. And these level brakes, while basic, are going to be super reliable and going to slow down the bike just fine. Going to the back, we've got this dropper seat post. So it's really nice to see the Farley 5 coming with a dropper because this is a Trans-X JD YSP 18 dropper post. Something we've seen on a lot of Treks before. It's 31.6 in diameter. But the neat thing here, especially if you're fat biking, sometimes when you come to a stop, your foot can sink down into the snow and it can be hard to get back on the bike and get going. So having the dropper post is going to help with that. The other neat thing is that's going to allow this bike to be much more usable as a 4-season bike. So you've got a 1X style lever so you can press right on the handlebar. Makes for a pretty decent and clean setup. And then it's operating that 130 millimeters of dropper travel. So now that we've taken a look at some of the features and designs of this 2021 Trek Farley 5, let's go ahead and find out what this bike weighs. Actual weight of the Trek Farley 5 in a medium and running tubes comes in and weighs 30.07 pounds. Thanks for watching this video on the 2021 Trek Farley 5. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think about this bike as a snow machine or even a 4-season bicycle? As well as, be sure to leave a thumbs up. It lets me know that you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you can see more videos like this in the future.